Okay, we are now live and on the record for Tuesday morning's criminal docket, February 8th, 2022. And we do have a short docket, so I'm just going to take things up in the most efficient way. So Miss Tanya Chapa on CR 1814028-I. Ma'am, was your attorney going to be present or were you just making yourself present so that we could recall the caveats?
The attorney should be present.
Okay. All right, then I'll go ahead and wait until your attorney comes on.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Saldana, on CR 20-07576-I, I see that your client, Francisco Carrion, is present, sir.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, well, I was just going to brief you of the issue that's been going on. I know the last time we had a hearing last week, you wanted to know whether Mr. Carrion had installed the alcohol monitoring device. Since the hearing, my client's informed me, it's my understanding that he's been trying to get in contact with Ms. Soto, which is a probation office, since that day, but he hasn't been able to get a hold of her. Just been leaving voicemails and no return calls.
Why does he need to get in touch with Ms. Soto to get the device? Doesn't he have the list of providers already?
And that's what I was about to explain, Your Honor. So my client does not own a vehicle. He's been trying to get a hold of her to look for an alternative on whether there's something else that he can install or whether he could have a mobile device, some sort of mobile device to carry with him, because he does not own a vehicle. So he gets dropped off at work.
Okay, so at the time that I ordered the alcohol monitoring device, why wasn't I made aware that he didn't own a vehicle at that time?
Your Honor, it's my mistake. I had forgot to inform the court of that issue. My client briefed me on it shortly after our hearing.
Ms. Soto, unfortunately, is out due to a death in the family. So, Mr. Arellano, can I have a phone number where Mr. Carrion can get in touch with you?
Yes, Judge. Whenever the court's ready, I could go ahead and provide that phone number.
Go ahead, Mr. Saldana will have to take that down first, client.
I'm ready.
So, Lanya, my name is Juan Arellano. I work with the probation department. I'm covering for Ms. Soto this morning. You can reach me at area code 956, phone number 587-6000, extension 4166. Please be advised that I did try to reach out to your client this morning, but was not able to get through. In addition, the vendor's log that you have should also be the same place where where Mr. Carrion could get the portable device. Of course, it has to be ordered by the court.
Okay, so the current order that we have right now is for an interlock device?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay. We'll go ahead and amend that order and have it as an mobile alcohol monitoring device, which he will have to obtain within 48 hours. And he's to return here next Tuesday, February the 8th.
Oh, Judge,
I'm sorry, February the 15th
Yes, ma'am.
at 9:30.
Your Honor, it'll be at 1:30.
Oh, 1:30? Okay. And I don't want any excuses, Mr. Carrion. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, anything else?
That'll be it, Your Honor. May we be excused?
What is the current phone number that you have, Mr. Carrion?
Area code 432-703-2690.
Are you in Hidalgo County?
No, ma'am.
What county are you in?
Ector County.
Okay. Make sure that you get in touch with Mr. Arellano today, okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Okay, you're excused.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Arredondo?
Yes, good morning, Your Honor.
Good
I have a
morning.
quick announcement regarding Tanya Chapa. She is present on Zoom, Judge.
Okay, yes, let me recall. CR 181402-I. What is your announcement?
Judge, we submitted the PTD yesterday, Judge, and we're here to recall a KPS.
Any additional announcement from the state?
Your Honor, that is correct. Defense counsel did submit a PTD application yesterday and it's under review.
Okay. All right, Ms. Chapa, next time that you have a hearing with the court, you need to be present, ma'am. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
I will recall the KPS at this time, but it doesn't mean that I'll recall it each time.
Okay.
All right, anything else?
That's all we have, Judge. May I be excused?
You certainly may.
Thank you, Judge. Nice seeing you. Have a great day.
Likewise. CR 1703753-I, State of Texas versus Luciano Estrada Lucio.
Marco Duro from St. Lucia, Judge.
And Mr. Lucio?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Sir, this is a suppression hearing. Are you driving or are you pulled over safely?
I'm pulled over safely, man.
Okay, thank you. All right, what are the announcements?
Your Honor, we're here on a motion to suppress. We did subpoena our officers. However, the subpoena was returned because they were unable to locate our officer because he no longer works at the location. And at this time, the state's going to ask for a continuance.
Okay, Mr. De Luna, your response?
Judge, we've been prepared for this motion to suppress, Judge. They had ample opportunity to try to get a hold of the officer this time, Judge. So we're respectfully requesting, we're present and ready to go forward with the motion to suppress, Judge, and we're respectfully requesting the court to deny the continuance on the motion to suppress, Judge.
Okay,
I mean, on their continuance, Judge, for the motion to suppress.
okay, and Mr. Lozano, is there any likelihood that this officer would be located if you would be granted the continuance?
No, Your Honor.
I appreciate your honesty. At this time, Mr. Lucio, in light of the information that the state has provided with the court is going to grant your motion to suppress because there will be no way for it to be able to go forward. Okay, so Mr. De Luna, please get an order granting to the court so that I can get that signed.
I'll get to this afternoon, Your Honor.
All right, anything else?
That's all I have, Judge. That being said, Judge, if the judge is going to sign that, is there going to be a status or an announcement made by the district attorney on this case, Judge? Or
I'm pretty sure Mr. Lozano will have to staff this case, but we can set it for a status hearing to see how they will be proceeding with this matter. And we can set it for March the 10th. That's the earliest I have at 9:30.
yes, Your Honor.
And hopefully you will get some kind of word before then.
Thank you, Judge. I'll be submitting that this afternoon. I'll have my office submitted, Your Honor. That's all I have, Judge. Myself and my client be excused.
Yes.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
CR 20-2650-I, State of Texas versus Julio Reyes.
Good morning, Your Honor. Jorge Ortegon here for Mr. Julio Reyes, Judge. He is present, sitting next to me to my right in my office, Your Honor. We are set for motion to suppress, and we are announcing ready, Judge.
Okay, what says the state?
Your Honor, state announces ready.
Okay, and the officers in this matter are?
Officer Ivan Torres and Officer Oscar Zarco.
Okay. So Officer Torres and Officer Zarco, because we are ready to move forward and you are witnesses in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you in the waiting room. And when it's time for you to come in, I'll let you in. Who is it that you're going to start with first as your witness, Mr. Lozano?
Your Honor, the state's going to ask that defense counsel detail the scope of their motion so that we know what officer. Go on.
At this point, Your Honor, we are hoping to suppress the arrest, Judge. There was a minor accident in this case, Your Honor, that I don't really think there's anything suppressible as per the stop, but we are hoping to suppress the arrest at this time, Judge. That there was essentially no probable cause to arrest my client, Your Honor.
Your Honor, defense counsel stipulating to the accident, and for that reason, we would only be needing Officer Ivan Torres. I don't know if Mr. Obregon has any questions for Officer Zarco.
I have no questions for Officer Zacco, Your Honor.
Your Honor,
Okay.
may Officer Zarco be excused?
Yes. Officer Zarco is excused since there's no testimony that will be needed from him.
And I do want
Thank
to
you.
put on the record, Your Honor, that there is another case that stems out of the same incident, Judge, that CR 20-02651I. It is not set for today. For some reason, my order was rejected on that motion to suppress. However, I did staff this with Melissa, and she said that, well, whatever happens here, the other case will follow. That's kind of, so I just wanted to make that announcement for the court that there is no need to have a motion to suppress on that one. Really, it would just count to if this was some other charge. So she says we will treat that case as if we treat this one, depending on what, Your Honor.
Okay, I'm sorry, you froze at the end.
Melissa had said that we'll treat that case as if it's just following this one, depending on what happens here today, Your Honor.
Okay,
I just wanted to bring it up in case he was set, that we are here on both cases. However, it looks like we only have the suppression on the alleged DWI, Your Honor, and not on the duty on striking.
okay. All right, well, Officer Zatko, I thank you for your service, sir. And you are excused at this time.
Thank you.
Okay. So you want me to swear in Officer Torres?
Yes, Your Honor. State's going to call Officer Ivan Torres as our first witness.
Okay, Officer Torres, please raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony that you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do, Your Honor.
Okay, you'll just need to speak up a little bit, sir.
Sure.
All right, thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Good morning. Could you please state your full name for the record?
Name is Ivan Torres.
Are you a certified peace officer?
Yes, I am.
Are you presently employed?
Yes.
And who are you employed with?
I'm employed with the Edinburgh Police Department.
And have you had any special trainings pertaining to your duties as a peace officer?
Yes, through the academy. It's gonna be the TCO certified academy training. That covers all sorts of things, including DWI investigation.
Okay, and have you had any special trainings pertaining to detecting signs that a person is intoxicated?
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about the day of the offense. Were you employed as a peace officer with Edinburgh PD on January 2nd, 2020?
Yes, I was.
And where were you patrolling on that date?
I was patrolling the Adams sector of Edinburgh, which covers the southeast of Edinburgh, and I was dispatched to the 300 block of East Trenton in reference to a minor accident.
Okay, and is that a public place?
It is private, but also public, as it's private property, but open to the public. It's a shopping center.
Okay, and what city is that in?
It's in Edinburgh,
And what county is that in?
Hidalgo,
What state is that in?
Texas.
Okay, when you were dispatched, what did you observe upon arrival?
Upon arrival, I observed a pickup truck in the bushes, just off the private drive there in the parking lot. It was facing northeast, and I observed a male wearing it was a dark blue shirt, khaki pants, heavy set. He was getting into a white Hyundai passenger car and then leaving the scene. I approached the vehicle, make sure there was nobody in there, and then I advised Officer Zarco to stop the white passenger cars and leave.
Okay, and did you observe any debris?
There was debris on the ground and in the bushes. Most of the vehicle was in the bushes. Only the front end was kind of sticking out.
Okay, and after Officer Zarco pulled over the Hyundai, what actions did you take?
He escorted the vehicle back to my location. There, Officer Zarco spoke to the driver, which is Maria, And then I spoke with the passenger, which is your client. So I spoke with him. I asked him what happened. You know, he stated that he was going to get food for his mother. I asked him, well, how did you lose control? He said, well, I was going to get food for my mother and I lost control. But he never explained how. I want to know if maybe, you know, he was distracted by something, something got in his way, he had to swerve. But he just kept reading, I was getting food for my mom, I lost control.
Okay, and who was the passenger that you made contact with?
That was our defendant here is Julio.
What's his full name? Or last name?
Julio Reyes.
Okay. And do you see Julio Reyes in the virtual courtroom today?
Yes, I do.
Could you identify him by describing an article of clothing?
Navy blue coat and a light blue shirt, no tie.
Your Honor, let the record reflect that Officer Torres has positively identified the defendant.
Okay, that'll be reflected.
Okay, and what actions did you take after making contact with the defendant?
Well, I continued to ask him how the crash happened, and then I asked him where he was coming from. He stated that he was coming from a nightclub. It was called the Landmark Lounge. There he stated he drank 7 12-ounce Budweisers, and then he went to Taco Palenque to get food for his mother.
Okay, and what observations did you make on the defendant?
He had watery, bloodshot eyes, slurred speech. He had an odor of alcohol emanating from his breath. And he was very incoherent. I would ask him a question and he just really couldn't answer it. Based on my training experience, he was heavily intoxicated.
Okay, and were you able to conduct standard field sobriety tests?
No. 2 reasons. One was he didn't meet criteria because of his weight. Also, he also refused.
Okay. And at what point did you decide to place the defendant under arrest?
After a series of questions, I asked him where he was coming from, how he couldn't explain how the crash happened, just that he was getting food for his mother. Also, really based on all the observations, his incoherent answers, the watery, bloodshot eyes, and after all that, it determined that I had hit and run, and he was heavily intoxicated. So I placed him under arrest for driving while intoxicated.
Okay, and what happened next?
He was placed under arrest, placed in my vehicle, my unit. Officer Zarco stayed behind for a wrecker, as the vehicle was stuck in the bushes. There was no way to properly get it out.
Okay, and did the defendant provide a blood sample?
No, he refused, and we obtained a blood warrant.
Okay.
Your Honor, we're going to object. That is not a basis of suppression, Judge. We're essentially suppressing the arrest, not anything that would have occurred after the arrest, Your Honor. So any further questioning after the arrest, Your Honor, we would object to at this time.
Okay, Mr. Lozano, your response?
Your Honor, that's fine. No further questions. We'll pass the witness.
Then that objection will be sustained. Okay, Mr. Ortegon?
Thank you, Your Honor. Officer Torres, today, sir.
Yes, sir.
My name is Jorge Ortegon. I'm the attorney here for Mr. Reyes that you previously identified. If you have any, I'm going to ask you if questions, and for any reason you don't understand or you need me to rephrase, please don't hesitate to ask me to do so.
Yes, sir.
So, Officer Torres, you previously testified earlier, based off the questioning that you received from Mr. Lozano, that you had noticed that there was an accident. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and that my client's vehicle was stuck in the bushes.
Yes.
Okay, will you describe the extent of damages to that vehicle?
I recall there was maybe some front end damage, but I can't recall exact details on how it was damaged. It was mostly in the bushes from what I can remember. There was damage on it, of course, but it was almost like in a ditch and behind the bushes. But you could see the front end of the vehicle.
Officer Torres, so if I told you that that vehicle ended up being totaled because it was a serious accident, would you agree with me or disagree with me?
Yeah, I would agree with you.
You would agree with me that that vehicle was totaled, is that correct? And you also arrested my client for duty on striking, is that correct?
Yes.
Why is that?
So when I got there, he was not the primary caller to the accident. It was a third party. Someone observed the accident. When I was arriving, he was getting in the passenger vehicle, leaving the scene. He didn't return on his own. We had to stop him and ask him, please return to the scene so we can speak with you. And since we had to ask him to come back, he didn't come back on his own. Well, then that would meet the criteria.
Okay, so why wouldn't you arrest him for essentially, you arrested him for duty on striking. Why didn't you arrest him for that other charge when people leave the scene? Incident involving damage.
I charged him for both. I arrested him for both.
Wait, you arrested him for DWI and for duty on striking.
Yes.
Why didn't you arrest him for accident involving damage?
I charged him with that too. So I did both. Like you can arrest someone for more than one charge.
Okay, well, that charge never came in. So apparently the elements of that charge were not met. Do you understand or do you recollect as to why you charged him with duty on striking?
Yes, because he left with his mom and we had to make him come back.
But in order to be
Now, if he
charged
came
with
back on his
duty on
own, we wouldn't
striking,
have it.
Hold on, one at a time so that we can make a clear record.
in order to charge somebody for duty on striking, you're correct. That's the second part of the elements. But what are the first part of the elements, Mr. Torres?
He has a duty to report.
Does him having allegedly hit a tree have anything to do with it?
Yeah, that's private property, the tree.
So that's why you charge him with duty on striking, because he had they fixed this case, it was a tree. Is that correct?
Yes.
So my client had essentially just been in an accident with a tree because he lost control of the vehicle. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you recall the weather that day?
No, I don't. I do not.
Okay, now, is there anything in your report that you can change if you had to change it at this time?
Change? No, there's nothing in there I would change.
Okay, so there's nothing on the report that you would change.
No, unless I watched my video again and there's something that I didn't observe and document. But,
Would you
no.
agree with me that when this honorable court sees the video, she's going to see that it was in fact me that day and that the roads were soaking wet?
Yeah, that's fine.
Now, could my client have been, and this honorable court would also see the extent of the damage done to my client's truck?
Yes.
And you did previously agree with me that, in your opinion, this could be seen as a serious or that you would agree or you wouldn't necessarily disagree if I told you that the vehicle was totaled.
Can you repeat that question? It's there's some lag in the video.
It's that, Mr. Ortegon,
Okay,
it's because you're freezing and then it'll unfreeze and then it lags.
Me or the officer, Your Honor?
You.
Okay, is this a little bit better, Judge?
Yeah, we can hear you right now.
Okay, and I apologize, Your Honor. For some reason, it says that I have full internet, but sometimes we have a few issues with it here at the office. What I'm trying to get at, Investigator Thought, is basically the short and sweet of it is you would not disagree with me that this was a major accident that totaled the vehicle.
I would disagree with you.
You would disagree?
Yes, it was classified as a minor accident, and it is possible for a vehicle to be totaled in a minor accident.
Okay. And I think the judge will get to determine what she thinks when she sees the video on that. Now, Mr. Torres, when someone's in an accident, is it possible that they could be discombobulated at the time?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Now, another thing, Officer Torres, your current testimony, or you're testified here in court that you offered my client or asked him to take the standardized field sobriety test. Is that correct?
Yes,
Are you sure about that?
I recall asking him. I recall him denying.
That would be in the video as well. Is that correct? Do you believe that it is critical to ask somebody to take the standardized field sobriety test in that situation?
Critical? No, but if I observe that they are probably able to, then I would.
So if you did not, in fact, ask them, that would show in the video. Is that correct?
If I didn't ask him, then yes, of course.
Okay. And would you state that if you did not ask him to do the standardized field sobriety test, your investigation could have been flawed?
If I didn't ask him, no, my case would probably still be the same. There's many times where I have not asked the client.
But that would then make your DWI case report inaccurate. Is that correct?
If I didn't ask him and it's in the report says that I did ask him, then yes, it'd be inaccurate.
That would take the credibility away from your report, now wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And the judge is going to have an opportunity to review that as well.
Sure.
And finally, Officer Torres, you stated that my client didn't take the field sobriety test also because he was overweight. Is that correct?
Yes.
Then why would you ask him to take the standardized field sobriety test if you knew that he couldn't properly take them because he's overweight?
It is possible to perform the tests. It's just that the result cannot be taken as a greater probable cause. You can still perform the test even if you don't meet criteria.
Okay, and are there alternate tests for people who don't meet the criteria?
There is, but they're not really advised.
Okay, but there are alternate tests. Is that correct?
Yes, but I wouldn't recall which any of them are. I don't use that.
Okay. And was my client rude or aggressive toward you at any time?
No.
You stated that he had the odor of alcohol emitting from his breath. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and you also testified that that he had red bloodshot eyes. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you also testified that he had slurred speech.
Yes.
So is it fair to assume that he was not swaying while walking?
I don't recall swaying while walking. He was in the vehicle for the most part for our interview. It's only when I asked him to finally get out, he did get out, where he was standing up, but there wasn't much walking around or anything like that.
Have you ever met a client before?
Have I ever met him before?
Yes.
Oh, no.
And you also haven't testified that you asked my client when he started drinking. Is that correct?
No, I didn't ask him.
So if somebody were to,
as far as timeline, is that he left the club or bar at around 12.
you didn't ask him what time he got to the club or bar? Is that correct?
No.
Would that have been important in your investigation as to whether he was seated at the time?
Yes, it would.
If I were to go out and have and go to a restaurant and have 7 beers, but I was there, had 2 meals, and I was there for over 7 hours, is it possible that I will no longer be intoxicated at that time?
Yeah, it is possible.
So it would have been important for you to have asked those critical questions. Is that correct?
Yes.
And did you ask him questions?
No, I didn't ask him when he left.
At that, you mean you didn't ask him when you got there?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that question?
You just said you asked him when he left, but then you just said you didn't ask him when he left. But I think you meant to say you didn't ask him when he got to the land park.
Oh yes, when he got to the club. Yeah, like how long
That's
he was
what-
there.
That's what you didn't ask him. Is that correct?
Yes. If it's not in my
Oh.
report, then it's not there.
Or whether he had anything to eat or anything like that.
No.
Judge, at this time, I pass the witness.
Any further questions, Mr. Lozano?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. There being no more questions, is the witness excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Mr. Torres, thank you for your service, sir, and we appreciate you answering the subpoena.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. you're
Thank you.
excused.
Thank you, Officer Torres.
All right. Okay, anything to add before we conclude?
Your Honor, the state would be offering the offense report and the DVDs for the court's review, and the state is ready for closing argument.
Okay. Go ahead.
Your Honor, the state's requesting that you deny this motion to suppress because Officer Torres and Officer Zarco did not violate the defendant's constitutional rights. Officer Torres was dispatched to the parking lot of 305 East Trenton in regards to a minor accident and observed the defendant leaving his vehicle and getting into his mother's vehicle. Here, Officer Torres had reasonable suspicion to conduct a DWI investigation based on the minor accident, the defendant leaving his vehicle and getting into his mom's vehicle, the defendant having watery, bloodshot eyes, slurred speech, an odor of alcohol emitting from his breath, the defendant admitting to drinking 7 12-ounce beers at the club, and appearing to be incoherent. Officer Torres and Officer Zarco followed the proper procedure and concluded based on the totality of the circumstances that the defendant was driving while intoxicated. Therefore, Your Honor should deny this motion to suppress because Officer Torres and Officer Zarco did not violate the defendant's constitutional rights.
Okay, Mr. Ortegon?
First of all, Judge, we do have no objection to this honorably the video, as well as reviewing any reports prior to making a decision on this case, Your Honor. We would respectfully request that this honorable court grant my client's motion to suppress illegally seized evidence, Your Honor. By the officer's own testimony, there was an extremely important questions that my client was not afforded the opportunity to answer, which would have helped him in his defense, Your Honor. They made an arrest without doing an investigation. The officer did not even recall whether or not it was raining. I believe when the court sees the video and sees the photos in this case, they will see that the weather was bad, that essentially my client was in a severe accident, and that could have made him discombobulated at the time. However, it was an improper investigation and an incomplete investigation when it came to actually investigating a DWI, Your Honor. The officer essentially just assumes, it's late at night and my client, admitted to having some drinks and he must be intoxicated without understanding when he started to have those drinks. 7 beers over a 12-hour span, and he stated, yeah, you wouldn't be intoxicated. So that officer did not know when my client started drinking, when he began drinking. And I think when the honorable court sees the video, this honorable court's going to see that my client was never afforded an opportunity to take a standardized field sobriety test. And it also seems to me that his testimony is almost like a little, I don't believe the word is counterintuitive, but it almost goes against each other by saying the test would have been invalid, as well as he said no. It's either he's obese and he can't take these tests, or you didn't ask him to take these tests, Your Honor. I think if this honorable deal thoroughly, this honorable court will find several inconsistencies in the report of investigator Torres, a better investigation that could have been done before deciding to just arrest my client for driving while intoxicated at this time. The officer didn't even remember why he arrested my client for duty on striking. I had to tell him that my client hit a tree, Your Honor. It seemed like the officer didn't even know the elements of duty on striking and the difference between duty on striking and accident involving damage, Your Honor. For those reasons, Judge, I would respect that this honorable court review the video, see the inconsistencies in the officer's testimony as well as his report, and the improper, insufficient investigation to properly get the evidence he needed to arrest my client if he was going to properly do so, Your Honor. And for those reasons, Judge, we would respectfully request that our motion to suppress be granted at this time.
Okay. All right. If nothing further, I'm going to take this under advisement. I will review that. Please, Mr. Lozano, if you can have somebody walk it over to my staff so that I can have that. I am reviewing other DVDs this week, so I would like it in that stack.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. If nothing further, then what I will do is I'll be by March the 4th, I'm going to give myself a tickler on this to make a decision. Then you can decide what you want to do after that.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. Anything else?
Nothing from the defense, Your Honor.
Okay.
Nothing from the state.
All right. Then then you are excused. That concludes our matter for this case. Thank you, Mr. Reyes.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Judge.
Yes. Okay. Anything else?
No, Your Honor, that's all of the cases on the docket.
Okay. All right. Then I guess we'll reconvene this afternoon at 1:30.
Yes, Your Honor.
And that concludes this morning's docket.